This is perfect. Like, I found the clip of The View and George Hamilton, but also the commentary of the Young Turks, which I've always talked about how Cenk is like such a pro pedo everything and how everybody was reacting. So we'll go through it and then we'll discuss like all the parties in this because it's all bad. And I did a clip on them before and people didn't like it, but I was like, no, they're promoting it. They've been, and I had problems with it then. Okay, they're like off in their own universe of like, let's go rape kids. There's nothing wrong with it. And us as victims, because there was other victims that were listening to this stuff too back then, and we're just like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Like it was a thing like that, but you would think that everybody's down with this. I'd say like a majority of people were thinking like this. However, you'll find out like on The View that Joy, I think, was like the only one on here that was like, George, that's molestation. But then they all started laughing like it was just no big deal, and it's pretty crazy. So this was actually taped in 2008, October 17th, 2008. So I guess that View thing didn't come on. I guess it came on earlier. Maybe they had a rerun in 2009. I don't know. I don't know why the story was dated that time. But anyway, 2008, this was said. And this is at the height of, Nygaard and his damn parties and stuff. And Hamilton was up in there. I don't know if he partook because they're doing the taping thing. But I'm like, this is a guy. This is a guy right here that would literally walk into a thing like that and have no issue seeing a tank of children. None whatsoever. And neither would Cenk. And it's funny because they compared him to George being George is like the richer version of Cenk. I go, yeah, so you're saying like he's probably like a pedo, like basically, because he has no yeah. Because I'm pretty sure that his viewpoint here is going to be as young as 12 is okay because he wasn't bothered by it. That's how they rationalize this crap. Like it just is this thing. But let's get into it because oh my lord.
George Hamilton was on The View, and he spoke about his tryst, okay, with his stepmother. But the only problem is he was 12 years old when he had sex with his stepmother, and she was 28.
Wow. He's not playing.
We have video of it.
We have obtained a video?
We have obtained video.
All right, let's watch the video real quick.
When I was very young, 12, I had a relationship with my stepmother, not a kin, not blood.
Stop it.
Yeah.
How
was
old
like
is she?
older women.
How old? You were 12. How old is she?
She was about 28, 30.
Oh, this is like the
And
teacher
your father
thing.
never knew.
My father never knew. And it was something that I would think could be very, if you were going to a
You were
therapist.
really 12?
Yeah. That's
She was
what
12.
Barbara Walters here kind of like rolls her head like you were only 12. I mean, she doesn't really say anything, but Joyce is like having a thing over here. And everybody else is kind of just sitting back listening to this. And they start laughing.
Found out about it?
But my father never knew about it. And it was a very strange thing, but it was very normal and strange. She didn't make me feel bad about it. It wasn't dirty.
George. It's molestation. Let's call it what it is.
Molested?
Yes, you are.
Damn, I'm down for it again.
And he's like, I'm down for it again. Just making jokes of this thing. I mean, not only is this bad because he was molested by his stepmother, but then that means that the stepmother cheated on the dad. And then, I mean, unless, I don't even want to go here, but some of these dads were like setting up their sons. I shouldn't say some, there was a lot that were setting up their sons for these sexual escapades with an adult woman. I would hope that it wasn't a situation where dad had her do it. That's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but, but everybody's laughing. So they're not making it seem serious for him anyway. And that's the feedback that everybody gets from these conversations. Like, you'll bring up something, and then even though they're like, you were molested, I don't know, they're all laughing. Like, the reaction to this is really off kilter. And then
Seriously, and that is a charge that would be levied against.
I'm sure that would. But
How did it end?
I think
Badly.
How did it
Their
end?
relationship. Yeah.
That's a good question. It actually went on for when I was 12, and then strangely enough, when I was of age, and I was an actor in Hollywood, I met her again. She was as beautiful, and we had a sort of follow up. This time,
Where's your father in all of this?
my father passed away in the middle of it.
Oh.
Look at this, George Hamilton, 12 years.
So now Cenk goes on this whole thing. Like, nobody acted properly on The View other than even... I mean, at least Joy, like, said, you know, what she did. But everybody else is just kind of... Everybody's laughing. Like, everybody's laughing. Like, this is just crazy to me. But this is what I was saying. Like, they totally normalize, like, men can't be raped. But, you know, there were people that knew, hey, that's wrong. But, yeah, they're saying that... You know, it's kind of like that. And then Cenk, okay, him and his pro, like, raping kids thing. So I think it was on the other clip that I put where he said, oh, all these young boys were, you know, being with, I don't know, that he was saying that then you can't say that they were all raped. That's ridiculous. And they were. I don't remember how it was said, but it was on, I think, on the last clip that I did on them. But here he's going to go on.
Years old, with a stepmom.
George Hamilton is an older, richer version of you. Like, when he was speaking, I thought, you know what, if that occurred in Cenk's life, he would be just as proud and just as happy about it.
But look, you know, he said, look, I wasn't scarred by it or anything like that. And, you know, and at 12, I'm sure he was ecstatic over it, you know. I pardon him. I'm not sure I pardon the mom, although she's long dead. But what I like about George Hamilton, he's gotten to that point that I say that I'm going to get to when I get older. No holds barred. Okay? Be like, you know what? Yeah. I fucked my stepmom. Yeah, that's what I did. And you know what? I'd do it again. Okay? I like it. No holds barred. What are you going to do? I'm going to die soon anyway. What difference it makes? Go ahead, Jay. This motherfucker. What? That's it? A motherfucker. Oh!
Oh, he really is! Quite literally.
How did I not get that the first time? Duh. Wow, George Hamilton is a motherfucker, isn't he? All right, good for him.
Yeah, they're just cheering it on. They're just cheering it on. He's like so for it, and he's fine with children being raped, and he's like saying, oh yeah, I would come out when I'm older and just say, yeah, I did all this stuff. It's like, oh, I hate to find out what Cenk is going to say when he turns 80, that he raped all these children, you know? Something like that. No, he's pro that. He's been pro that. He's been going on just as much as Bill Maher on his bullshit and on the same thing. Like, they've been saying it, and then that gets into that other topic with the gay community there, where, you know, you're telling the boys that that's not rape. So that was in addition to, you know, those things. And then not having these conversations, and everybody's laughing about it. Like, nobody even took it seriously. So even if they did go and try to report something, they didn't do anything. You know? It's just this clusterfuck of, like, everybody being mentally ill. These guys were. I knew it when I was watching this stuff back then. I was like, what in the hell? And I was posting all sorts of stuff, and then I got so much bad feedback because everybody was pro-raping kids. Like, what are they going to say now? I'm kind of curious to all the comments. Let me see some of the comments here, just because this is a shorter clip. They go, he's my hero. And then they go, sometimes you gotta love the show. It means as much as the statement you made. You know, real incest is far more common in the rural South liberals, right? And it's like, I'm still waiting for stats backing up your statement. I don't know, they're saying something. He's like, and I thought I was cute at 12. Damn, George, you weren't just the man, you was the boy, too. I wonder if George Hamilton told this story to Lyndon and Lady Bird Johnson when he was dating their daughter. True. Oh, I don't know what that is. I would have to look at that. Then it says, laugh out loud, seeing the title. I kept waiting for them to actually talk bad about Hamilton, but I got it around the time he said, I'm not sure I pardoned the mom. Wait, but they're cheering it on. So, I mean, what's the thing? You told women that they couldn't rape you. So, he's not 12 now. If he wants to have a good memory of the incident and feel like it has been good for him, that's his prerogative. What? No. It's a brainwash. Nothing. Okay, so this person said this 4 years ago. Nothing abnormal about this. It was natural. It happened. Not an ideal situation, but it was a natural, harmless thing. Oh God. I'm really scared. I'm really scared. I pardon him too. Hilarious. Stepmom is really not mom. Laugh out loud. Well, it's not incest. I mean, it's still rape. It says a 12-year-old girl claims that her first sexual experience was with a 28-year-old man who happened to be her stepfather. She says she doesn't feel bad about it and doesn't feel he took advantage of her. The question is, this scenario is okay with you and there's no problem from a moral perspective? Yeah, so Jim, oh, the guy Jim is saying this from 12 years ago. Yeah, I mean, there were victims up in here like, what is wrong with you people? Then they go, there's a double standard here of a lot of guys would have loved to have sex with a woman at 12, maybe even younger, and women that have sex with young boys don't get into as much trouble, and they probably get into less trouble if they're prettier too. I know back in the days, older men would marry young girls all the time, but our modern society has rejected that. And I think there are valid reasons, but it's a tough issue to be absolutist on. No. The reason women didn't have the opinions in this stuff. Mm-mm. Men were telling women they could rape little boys, and boys can't be raped. So then, therefore, those situations were going on, and then they were targeting young girls, so they were going for little girls. Both things are a man's problem, technically. And women had to get men to stop raping them in marriages and things like that. Not that long ago either. But yeah, this is the brainwash, because I was like, I remember this. I remember being told this. I remember everybody acting a certain way, and I remember having issues with the Young Turks and Cenk with his like, let's rape everybody. So anyway, he was like, I was a male sex abuse victim. The difference between me and everyone else is I never viewed it as being bad. The only reason those guys are coming to you is because someone else planted the idea in their head that they were a victim. What? Oh, so they're oh yeah, I remember this argument too. People were like, who are you to tell me that I'm a victim? Like, they started in with this crap, and I'm thinking that's that bullshit right there. I am not sure about that. I think people think the man was far more evil than we think George's mom is. Anyone who called her a whore probably would get his or her ass beat. Well, yeah, you shouldn't be calling her a whore. She would be a predator. However, again, we don't even know if the dad set this up. I have these questions because they were setting up their sons like that. And even if he didn't, she's a predator, and she was okayed by society to do that. Like, that's the addition to this. It isn't like somebody said, no, you can't do that, you're gonna get arrested. They were like, it's to a boy, you can't rape him. Like, the cops wouldn't even do anything most of the time. I mean, there's been a couple cases that were big where Bill Maher was sitting there like, yeah, there's no big deal here. Yeah, those people are here. And so, no, there isn't. He is biologically a sexually mature male. Mentally, he might not have been, but it is completely natural attraction. He's not fully developed at 12. They're not fully developed until their freaking mid-20s. Like, I don't even, like, this is so gross. But, again, they're just kind of saying things that have been floating around from other men for eternity. And it's not even scientific and stuff like that. And he's like, what she can be held accountable for is taking action on that attraction with someone who, by our societal standards, oh, this must be Bill Maher, isn't mentally mature enough to understand the consequences of his actions. But the biological part is completely natural occurrence. Oh my god, these comments. I could not stand the comment section back then. It was like all this. That's why I was like, this shit, we're even like coming up with this. I'm 25 and I'm barely attracted to 18-year-olds, let alone a 12-year-old and her stepson at that. That was something wrong with her. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I wouldn't, even if it was totally legal, I wouldn't go, oh, let's go for a 12-year-old. Like, what the? Definitely it is statutory rape as a child is not mature. No matter what he says, it is unlawful to have sex with a child. Yeah, he didn't report it. They didn't even talk about the reporting. They said, did you tell anybody? And he said no. But nobody, you know, that it ends right there. Like, there's nobody going, you should go to the cops right now. Even right now, as he's, like, on TV, you could go, you should go report that. I don't know how old the woman is today. She may not be alive, because if she was 12, 28, 10 years older, well, she would be 70-something now. I don't know who she is. Like, I guess you'd have to look into his history to see who the stepmom was. Fine, Mr. Hamilton is free to think about his experience however he wishes. If a woman has been in the same position and she considers the relationship a positive point in her life, more power to her. We should hold his mom as accountable as we would hold a man in the same position, but she's dead now, so what's the point? Did the mom die? Well, they said the dad died. I don't know. Whatever. To me, you are a I know, and here's the other thing. If she did that to him, she most likely did it to other young boys, because, I mean, a 12-year-old. So it says, to me, you are a biological adult once you can reproduce. You could reproduce. That's gross. I could have reproduced at the age of 10. This is what they were, oh my god, this is what they were arguing with me on Twitter. Oh my god, I literally wanted to barf. And actually, you're constantly going through changes from the time you're born. So, like, where's this distinction? Like, they kept talking about, they're like, oh, well, puberty could start at, like, age 6, 8, you know, somewhere around there. So, okay, so what if they did, and so you're saying as young as 8, 6, somewhere around there, because that's when they start doing all sorts of crazy stuff to us, like pulling our skirts up and doing crazy stuff, and bad stuff did happen, and that's how you have that little Duggar boy being the way he is as well, because they constantly think, oh, it must be only starting at these teen years. I'm like, no. And we hear all these stories about little 10 and 11-year-olds getting pregnant and stuff like that. I think there was even an 8-year-old. Yeah, so this person's arguing that is how gross that is. Like, his thinking is, well, when she could reproduce, that's it. And how the hell is the guy supposed to know you could reproduce? This whole thing is just gross. He liked it and would do it again. He is not a victim. He wasn't scared by it, and he turned out all right. I would think a real sex abuse victim would have to agree. No. And I actually hate that whole, like, real victim thing as everybody was going on about a while back and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? We shouldn't even be saying this stuff, because no. As well, he wasn't crying and screaming at the top of... This is so crazy. It's like, so they don't associate rape unless it has something to do with crying and screaming at the top of his lungs for her to stop. He wasn't uncomfortable and liked it. He didn't think of himself as a victim. At his age, he probably thought it was like winning the lotto. Oh my god. There's literally not that many people on the side of this is rape. See? This is our society right here. Child rape. Pro-child rape. Pro. And I don't know. So that's the Lolita conflict. A 12-year-old kid would not be judged responsible enough to consent to sex with an older woman, because in my opinion and by legal standards, 12 is too young to make a rational judgment. I'm in agreement with the Tim whatever on this one. I guess he made a comment. I am a liberal and do not think that it is okay. I can gather right-wingers who were guilty of promoting such things. The Young Turks are certainly morally deficient, but do not go around dismissing the morality of the rest of us. Yeah, they're all guilty. It isn't just, like, right-wingers. That's why I was like, I don't even want to get in the middle of this, like, weird political thing with it, because everybody's guilty. And they've been trying to do that. They're like, oh, you voted for this guy and he's a rapist. And they turn around and go, oh, but you voted for this guy and he did this. It's like, they all did. Y'all voted for rapists. So, you know, I had to take my stance, not only because they wouldn't let me vote and claiming that they tossed out votes. But also I can't make a moral vote for either person that has been accused of those things, and that's my stance, and I have every freedom and right to make that choice and stance, and I have to go with, what I feel is right, you know? And neither one of them. None of them. None of them! So this is not true. We have studios to prove that. Majority of kids are not emotionally ready for the responsibilities that exist when dealing with sex. How are we to protect them if there are people who say, oh, they don't have to learn they have to learn sometime? That opens the door to child prostitution and other sexual violence against kids. Well, they're learning it from these predator adults, and because their parents refused to have these discussions because they thought it would promote them to go and do these things. And the other argument in that back then was, well, if they do those things, then you want them to do it safely, right? But there isn't anything safely with adults. So that or any other kid that's older, there's all sorts of different scenarios in this. There's a lot of badness. Like, there's just a lot of bad in this because I remember all these things, and I was just like, I had my stance on it as a kid, my personal choices of things, and somebody decided to make that choice for me. And that's where life began for us in this realm of things. So, and maybe that's the difference for the reason why I wouldn't be attracted to somebody at the age that I was. I was thinking about this too after I did the clip yesterday. I was like, well, maybe some of these people who actually enjoyed, as a kid, the experience, because I think, bringing up Oprah again, was explaining how she was so confused as a kid, and I think she said, you may enjoy the situation. Now, I don't know, I don't think she's into kids, but I'm thinking, like, maybe it's more prone to be with one of the kids who would have taken it in like that versus maybe my situation. I mean, I'm just thinking about it because I was like, it seems to be these guys who are like, it's totally okay, I enjoyed my experience. They seem to be all into the kids for the most part. It's not saying that all the people that had that happen and enjoy it would sit there then be attracted to kids at the same age that they were then. But I'm thinking, you had such a bad experience with it that it isn't something you're like, oh, well, because that happened to me at 17. It was so bad. I'm going to go do that to somebody at 17. I'm just not attracted to that. But I think some of the other conditionings might be because they condition little girls to like really old farts. They just do. Like, that's their target. Like, it's like, as a kid, and then they condition boys to go really young. So I think there's things in that. And then some I think are just born that way. I think that there's a certain group of them that have some sort of birth thing and they can't mentally go past a thing here. So, I mean, there's probably a combo of things that are going on here. But then it's like, this isn't about a girl and a man. It's about a boy and a woman. There is a difference whether you in your black and white world would admit it or not. People need to get over sexual issues. Sex happens. Sex is natural. Why is it so bad that this happened to him? Oh, he's obviously okay with it. So why is it such an issue? Society pushes these ridiculous viewpoints, which are most religious and have no basis in reality, on us, which makes us feel bad for natural desires and actions. No, this absolutely has zero to do with religion. No, what religion teaches, certain religions, because our church didn't get into this thing about not having sex before marriage thing. That actually came from Assemblies of God, a whole bunch of other ones. Like, maybe, if I brought it up, they would have talked about it, but that was actually never brought up to us at any point in time during communion. Confirmation when I was going through my studies. I think my pastor just completely avoided that topic Good for him. But it was new to me when somebody brought that up to me, and they're like, "Did you know you can go to hell if you have sex before marriage?" It's before marriage. They were not against having sex. They were against having sex before marriage, and so they were pro having children marry adult men, so then you could have sex with children. So yeah, no, 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 no. So no, that isn't correct what you're saying, and it was bad actually from a religious standpoint to allow this situation to occur. And we see the Catholic Church doing that stuff, and they kind of hid that stuff. But that's away from the doctrine. It's just they as far as being with the one man one woman thing. Yeah, no, they were pro raping kids as long as you got married. You had to have the marriage thing in there because then it's not a sin in the eyes of the Lord. So, no, this isn't about religion. This is about children not being capable of consenting, and adults know what they're doing, okay? So, and it does, as we've seen over time, that it has major, really bad negative effects on us. Even at 18. That's why I'm like, I don't know if what we should be arguing here, because I know even at 18, there's issues when you have somebody that's even 10 years older coming after them. There's a lot in this that, because these discussions aren't had as much as they should be had, or understanding this stuff. That's what I'm saying. Thank God we have time and the internet to go back into time 12 years ago to see what people were saying, which is really bad. And it was bad then. Like I'm saying, it was really bad then reading this stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Like, I don't, you get into this thing with these people arguing. It's natural. And then at least this last person's like, this is so wrong in so many ways. We are trying to stop sexual abuse, and here they are promoting it. A 12-year-old is not a consenting adult. They are not emotionally ready to deal with sex. Thank you. Check yourself. That's their name. Yeah, they need to check themselves on here. Yeah, so, I mean, there's people here, but it's like you're fighting. Like, I feel like we were not the majority. We're kind of like the minority groups here, like the victims in this. And we're fighting a majority of people who are totally down with it. And like right now, like that's what I'm saying. They're like, oh my God, human trafficking. I'm like, dude, did you guys forget what you posted like 12 years ago? Because you should come back here and read it. Did you forget? I'm glad I didn't post anything like that. I wouldn't. I know for a fact that I've made jokes. But as far as that goes, it's like I'm a victim, and how we make light of things, which isn't, like I'm saying, we probably shouldn't be doing that, because on here they're laughing. I don't think I would have been laughing when some guy's telling me this, but they were laughing with them, and they just made it even less serious. It just does. Like, you're talking about a thing, they're like, well, it's no big deal. They weren't like, why don't you go down right now and file a report? Even though you couldn't do anything here. I mean, I don't know. Like, the statute of limitations is bullshit. So, there are things, like I said, because law enforcement prevented us from reporting stuff, that keeps the clock off. Like, there's a lot of things on that a lawyer can argue. But then to find out if there's any other victims, though, because there definitely would be on somebody like this. This is just so gross, but he just let it happen. And then, I don't know what his deal is with Nygaard, but don't be shocked if you find that out, because these are the people, and this is how you should be able to understand some of this stuff. Alright, so I think that's it, because that was all the comments. There was only 72 comments on this. I know they keep going, there's a double standard. It's like, well, I'm not the one, women are not the ones sitting there promoting this. Who was it on here promoting this? A man. It was Cenk. It's all the boys. That's how they're conditioned. And they condition women to be that way. At least at this time period, because they're like, well, boys can't be raped, so we're gonna go hire some older women to go rape our little children. Just like in Nygaard's case too, he did that too. He had the older woman go after the sons. I mean, luckily he kind of snapped out of it. I think he may have a lot to go, but that's how they're conditioned. And we've been saying this, but everybody calls us skanks and sluts and liars and you know, this whole thing. But it's coming back on you guys now because this is in the open. So what happens if you get a job and they're checking your background to make sure you're not a pedophile? It's like, well, you go through this and I read that, you're not going to get hired. I'm just saying. I mean, these are your comments on here, dude. It's pretty bad from 12 years ago. So we're gonna end this now, but I'm gonna add this video like into the Night Guard playlist thing because it just goes along with the people who were there at some point.